Yes.
Okay, so thank you, Grace, for that introduction. I think that was a very good introduction. Uh, but let me just go through. I'm basically a public speaking trainer and coach, and I founded my company, the Art of Speaking Academy Hong Kong. I believe that every human being has a story to tell, but many of them don't have that voice. So I've helped those people find their voice, and I believe, words have the power to change the world. So I help people find their voice so they can go out there and change their world and tell their stories. Let me just tell you my story. When I was young, I was a very shy boy. I would never participate in the classroom. If I went to a birthday party, I would sit in the corner, not talk to anybody. And at the same time, if I had to come and speak in front of an audience in the classroom, I would just go blank. I wouldn't speak. However, one day I decided to be student council president. And because for some reason I had a calling inside of me that I wanted to lead my school, you know, but to lead my school, I had to be in an election in front of 600 students. So one side I had my fear of speaking, the other side I had a vision. So in
Mm.
life, what happens is we have two choices. Either we feed our fear or we feed our vision. And I fed my vision for 1 year. For 1 year, I visualized that I want to be student council president. And came the day where I had to deliver my speech, and I was up against the most popular guy in school and against the most smartest girl in school. And here was me, a shy boy who had to speak. But I knew this is what I wanted to do. I really wanted to lead my school. So they called my name. I went up on stage. I saw all those eyes looking at me, and I lifted the mic, and I was shivering, because I was very shy. And this is how I started my speech. I said, it was the year 1978. In a small town in India, a sweet little innocent child was born, and his parents named him Yogesh. And exactly, you're laughing, right? And that's what happened. The whole school burst into laughter. So immediately I captured their attention, and that's something I want to tell the audience is you have 5 to 10 seconds to capture your audience's attention. And you see, I told them a quick story about me being born in India and me being sweet and innocent. Now, why did they laugh? Because right now you're looking at me, I don't have hair, I'm bald, but back then my hair was this long. And I didn't look sweet, neither did I look innocent. So I used humor to my advantage to get that connection with the audience. You see? And then in my speech, I told them my story, my journey, how I was 3 months old, I came to Hong Kong, and I've always wanted to be a leader, not a follower. And, they understood my story, they listened, and that made me become student council president, and I won the election. So you see, storytelling is the most powerful way to convey your message to the audience. And I'll give you the best example of that. If you take Steve Jobs, right? He's a
Mm.
person
Mm.
in the tech industry, but he told amazing stories. That's why Apple is what it is today. You
True.
see, but at the same time, if you take someone like Bill Gates, he's also a rich man, but when it comes to storytelling, he, I don't see him being able to convey himself as articulately the way Steve Jobs did. And growing up as children, we've all been accustomed to stories, right? We would listen to storybooks, we would watch cartoons, especially Disney. And today, if you think about it, Disney has been the pioneer in storytelling,
Yeah, true.
right? Even when it comes to the movies now, they've taken the superhero movies to another genre because they're able to tell stories in an amazing way. So stories are very, very important, whether it's in your business, it's in real life, it's in any situation. Stories are so powerful, they can literally transform, heal, change the mindset, not just of a person, but of a whole generation. Martin Luther King, right? He told a story when he came up 50, 60 years ago when he gave that, I have a dream speech,
Mm.
right? He told a story of how he dreamt of a world without racism. And that one speech changed everything,
Very true.
right? So stories
Yeah.
are a very, very powerful, powerful method of doing anything, conveying anything, pursuing and persuading anybody.
Thank you. I'm going to jump right in here. So
Yes.
that's one of the reasons this platform is here. So I'll just say a little bit about Friends to Lean On Global Foundation. Friends to Lean On is a support group where we are very particular about the mental health of everyone. No one is an exception. We talk to everybody and we share stories. We want to use this platform to encourage the art of storytelling so that people can learn from others. When you go through a particular thing and you share your story, someone will learn, and or maybe even share your story and someone is going through a particular thing at a particular time. By the time you share your story, it would uplift their spirit and make them feel like, oh, I'm not alone. So that's why we were going to continue using this platform to encourage people. And that's why this topic is very, very important, because we know that people are, for some reasons, very shy about sharing stories, and that's because of the society we belong. I know this is very, it's not just an African thing. I know you live in Jakarta, and I can tell you that it's something that everyone can relate to. People, it can be very hard to come and share personal stories, yeah, but we want to use this platform, maybe not in details, but you can share certain stories that can help uplift people. So F2LO is out to ensure that we use story, we use live experiences, we tell people, we encourage people, to come out and share their stories so that people can learn and become better. So we have a wonderful society. If your neighbor is doing okay mentally, your colleagues are doing okay mentally, will make a better environment for everyone. But if you leave it to some set of people and be like, you know what, I'm not into this mental health thing, it's not my business, I don't have time for stuff like that. Tomorrow, when you're driving on the road and there's somebody that is having issues, with his mental health or something, the person is driving and the person is lost, like dumbfounded or not thinking straight, and the person drives, and by mistake you're the next person, close to him. You see how it's going to come out. That thing that you said is not my business will just come and bite you in your butt. So today I'm super excited because I know you have a lot to talk to us about. And the next thing I will ask you is, personally, do you have any story you'd like to share? That if you have a story or someone's story that helped you really in your journey so far, can you share with us if you have a story that has helped you, in your journey? The network went for a bit. Can you hear me? Did you hear what I
Yeah.
said? Did you hear my question?
Yes, I heard your question. I heard your
Thank you.
question. So basically, I have many stories to share. I can start with the first story is my own father's. Okay. Now, my father was this guy from India who moved to Hong Kong in the 60s, and he built a business empire, you know. And throughout his journey, he was betrayed by a lot of his relatives. And every time I would see him fall and get up again, but he never gave up. He never gave up in his journey. And this was back in 2008. I had gone out partying with my friends, and I came home and he was awake 6 in the morning. And I
Mm.
asked my father this question. I asked him, I said, "You did so much for so many people. You made all your relatives rich. You set your sisters up. You did so many things in life. Don't you feel bad when when you got betrayed by so many of them?" And you know what was his answer to me? He said,
No.
I am alive.
Mm.
He said, people, they lose 100,000 US dollars, they get a heart attack,
Yeah.
right? He's like, I'm alive. As long as I'm alive, That's the most important thing. And when that one phrase itself was so powerful that it stuck to me. Okay, it stuck to me really, really hard. And
Mm.
just a couple of years ago, I'm talking 5, 6 years ago, before I started my journey in becoming a public speaking trainer, I was at a
Mm.
very low point in my life. So what happened was I got in an argument with my wife, and I was lost. I was a lost soul. I didn't know what I wanted to do with my life. So I went downstairs. I went to 7-Eleven. 7-Eleven's a convenience store. I bought myself
Okay.
a beer and cigarettes because I couldn't think of any positive thing to do. And I sat down next to a fountain, and I was looking at a dead dragonfly in the fountain. And I
Mm.
was talking to it, and I was telling the dragonfly, you're dead. At least you have peace. I don't have any peace of mind. And then what happened was, suddenly, I realized the dragonfly was alive.
Ooh.
And I lifted him out of the water. I waited for 2 hours for his wings to dry. I kept pushing for him to fly off because it was a winter night and I was afraid he would freeze to death. Right? Now this
Mm.
is a dragonfly. I'm talking about an insect, right? I'm trying to save an
Yeah.
insect. And
Mm.
he wasn't lifting. And then I said to myself, I have no other choice but to push him over the ledge. And I took a calculated risk that, there are plants at the bottom. So if he doesn't fly, he'll survive. So I
Mm.
pushed him, and what happened was, just before he hit the floor, he lifted off and flew off.
Wow. He
And
just wanted that push.
yeah, and it just made me realize, oh my God, I was just arguing with my wife, and the reason she's pushing me is because she wants me to lift off.
Mm.
So you see,
Powerful.
the universe works in very weird ways, right? And sometimes you don't understand the story behind it. But and then what happened was, the epiphany I got was that as long as you're alive, you can even
Mm.
save an insect.
That's right.
Okay. And what happened a year later, I came to Jakarta to do a youth forum. And one of my students asked me, what if you think life is useless? And then
Mm.
I told him the dragonfly story. I told him I was feeling useless. And then I saved that dragonfly. And that made me realize that as long as you're alive, you're useful. As long as
I
you have
agree.
a pulse, you have a purpose.
That's right.
You see? So in all of our journeys, I'm sure in your journey and other people's journeys, there are stories, they have faced traumas they have gone through, things they have healed from. And there's a lot of stories that can be told. It's only that you should be willing to come out and tell those stories, you know? I mean, there's many more I can share with you. I'll tell you one
Yeah.
quick one again. Is
Okay.
there was a lady in China. So before I
Okay.
was a public speaking trainer, I used to be a businessman. I used to export and import these products. So I used to buy all this crockery from her, right? Tea sets,
Mm.
coffee sets. So one day I met her for coffee after work, and I saw she was lost. And I asked her, is everything okay? She said, yeah, everything's fine, but I knew it wasn't. I could sense it. And she was dreaming or she was in another world. And I said, look, if something's wrong, give me a call. I'm always available. Okay? And what happened was she calls me one at midnight and tells me that, can you please come over? And I was like, oh my God, why she called me one at midnight? Right? But then I told her I'm available. So I went, and she was crying, she was drinking, she was smoking, and I'm like, what's the matter? She told me her fiance left her and she wanted to commit suicide. And as soon as she told me that, I told her my story of how I used to have a partner when I was in the Middle East, and how I trusted him with my business, and how he screwed me over, you know,
Mm.
and he took over my business. And I said, but I'm still alive. I still
Mm.
moved on. And
Powerful.
and I told her, you have to move on with life. And then what happened was, 6 months later, I found out she started her own business. One
Wow.
year later, she had a boyfriend. And then
Mm.
a year later, she had a baby. And I just
Oh.
spoke to her just a month, two ago. And now she's in Egypt. with her husband. And I was like, huh? From China to
Oh.
Egypt? So, when you share your story, you don't know how impactful that can be to somebody's life. When I share the story of me being a shy boy with my students and becoming top 30 speakers at the World Championship of Public Speaking, my students flip and they
Mm.
realize, oh, this man was shy and he was top 30 speakers. So you see,
Wow.
every story you have can impact someone.
True.
Whether small or big, it can impact someone.
And I also need to add, some people tell you that the internet never forgets, that they don't want their story up there and all that. So this is it. We are not saying that you should share your story. You don't necessarily have to come online to share your story. Like, some people are really bold. They can share their stories. They've moved past, that particular stage. They do not care. They've moved on. So when we talk about sharing stories, and not just stories, it's with a purpose. Like, you have something to share. We were calling it stories. Sometimes stories can be, what's the word I'm looking for? Some stories may not be real, but we're talking about true life stories, sharing for one purpose, to help others learn. So I just want to put it out there, because some people, I do have a story myself. I have several stories, yeah, but somebody will tell you that they cannot come all the way to start opening their mouths to say their story, talk about their stories online and everything. So this is what we want to add. Sharing your story doesn't mean that you come out to talk about your story. You can be vulnerable to certain people. You can decide to share your stories until you are ready. So this is just like letting you know that sharing your story must not be out there in the open. You can share, even in a very small group, or even on a one-on-one basis. You sharing a story doesn't have to be to 1 million people, doesn't have to be 10,000. You can just even share a story to one person, just one person, and it would help that person. And you just shared this story now that you just shared about this lady that almost committed suicide. Before I came on, here, I just want to read this message. So because of what I do, I'm all about depression and suicide, helping people to understand that they have a wonderful future. And this is not me just saying this. I'll read this to you because I got this message. Look, I just got this message. I'll read it to you. Dakpo Ojora, I don't know, Polo Buff and Lagos socialite commit suicide. Dakpo Ojora, a socialite and one of the sons of boardroom guru. So this is to tell you that he is not a small man. He has money. He's wealthy. Otumba Adekunle Ojora and his wife, Erelu Olupa Ojora, is dead. He's the son of a wealthy man, but he committed suicide. According to sources, Dakpo, a polo buff, reportedly shot himself in the head Friday evening. Today is Saturday, so this happened yesterday. You see, I get this all the time, and this is what I step onto most times to do what I do. I always find it hard understanding, but for me, I understand that it's not a normal thing for people. It's not, you can't be in your right frame of mind and want to commit suicide. It is not normal.
Yes.
But just imagine if this guy was at the verge of doing this. He wanted to kill himself, and somebody just shared something at the time, and he just heard it and changed his mind. And I can tell you without a doubt that I have thousands of stories of people about committing suicide, almost killing themselves, but one story just changed it for them, and they're here today. And just thinking about it, sometimes I'm very emotional when I think about it, that, oh my goodness, this person just died now. What if somebody, stopped him? Maybe somebody just came and changed. Because I've been there. I understand what it means to be in a place where, I'm tired of everything. I just want to, go and rest, right? So this story now, I think this story is making me very, very emotional, because maybe somebody should have stopped him, or something would have just happened and he wouldn't be a dead man today. And this is why I do what I do, because every time it's not easy, coming live to do this thing. I have a class right now, but I took my time out, just to do this. And this is why I want us to keep talking about these things. Share stories that can help people know that, what, it's going to be good tomorrow. It may be ugly today, but it's going to be good tomorrow. Yeah, so let me turn up the vibration. I don't want to be in this mood, because I don't like me in
No,
this
no,
mood.
it's good because you're doing something that is very, very important. You see, Grace, that's one reason why I guess the universe connected us. I mean, as you know, we both are part of Coach Talk Cafe, right? And the world needs healing, and they need people like you to go out there and share stories, so that somebody out there listening can change their mind. And what you just said now is correct, right? Maybe when I speak or when I teach, I don't care about everybody in the room. Of course, I want to impact everybody in the room, but I'm looking for that one person in the room that is going through something in their head, and they listen to my story and they're like, oh my God, this guy survived, he faced it, and I can do it too. So what you're doing is great, right? We are healers, right? We're light healers. We're here to heal the world, and the work you do is amazing. And stories is and since you mentioned this, I want to quickly tell you, just day before, I was talking to a friend. Now, she went through two marriages, abusive marriages. She struggled as a single mother, and today she's done very well for herself. And, she always calls me for some sort of advice or motivation. And you know what I told her? I told her, imagine the day you share your story, you're so worried about what people think. But if you share your story about your abusive marriage, about how your spouse abused your child, and how you overcame all of that, how you fought, and today you've grown and you're survived. How many women out there are waiting to listen to the story from only your mouth? Remember, we're put on this universe because there's somebody who needs to listen to the story from only our mouth.
That's right.
You see, there might be somebody who listen to only Grace's story. They don't want to hear Yogesh. There might be somebody who only wants to hear Yogesh's story. And there are people out there who want to hear a particular person's story, right?
That's right.
That's why we're there. That's why storytelling works. Even for so many famous speakers, right? Not everybody will go to Anthony Robbins. Somebody will go to another person and listen to their story, right? And that's what's important. And I was telling her, you need to tell your story, because there are women out there who are being abused and who feel disempowered. They think they cannot turn. Please go out there, tell your story, so that you can empower those women, and you can change people's lives.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I also want to add that I honestly feel that no one is I know people are healers, many people are born healers and everything, but I feel that as a human being, just being a human being, you are qualified to be a storyteller, in the sense that just being a human being, you don't have to, because we have this society where people are all about, no, this is not my thing, this is your thing, this is what you want to do. But I think we all have that responsibility as a human being, because it's part of our journey and our growth and development, as far as I know. So I think to everyone out there, it might just be, welcome Fran Fitlin. Okay, she's I just want to use her as an example. She's a fitness coach, right? And I have this fitness thing going on. I'm very, very, I'm still, not there yet, but it's a journey. I've always been very crazy about fitness and all. And like you mentioned, right? People hear these things every day from several people, but it will come to a point where you will resonate. I think the word I'm looking for is to resonate with a particular person. Like you will just align and you'll be like, yes, this is what you've been hearing these things all your life, but you're not moved. And so when I started, I was very massive, I was really huge, and I didn't really care. I knew to lose weight, work on your diet, work out, do all these things, and you'd be fine. But there was no zeal. I wasn't really particular about doing it until I met someone. Her name is Nelly. She started a platform, and I joined, and I keyed into her. I got some level of alignment with her, and then that was where my journey started. And that is why I feel that everybody, as humans, we have that responsibility to share a story. Not just it may not be sweet, it may not be some people are good storytellers. They can just sit down and tell you and you'll be moved. It doesn't have to be sweet. As long as you learned something when you went through that journey, be rest assured that somebody out there, and like you mentioned again, when I do this stuff, right, I'm not looking for 1 million people to follow, to be online. Honestly, I tell my friends, and I tell them that you guys please join, tell somebody to come join and all that. But I'm always fulfilled when I'm done, doing this, because I know at least one person. So this is my next question, right? In your story, and you shared about your dad and the powerful thing he said, that he's still alive. There's someone out there, because what I like for us to do on this platform, you can just come, talk, and, be gone. But right here, we go beyond that. We don't just want to talk and go. We want to talk, share practical steps on how you can, build something. Depends on what we're talking about. And in this case, we're talking about storytelling. So 2 things I would like for you to address. Number 1, to somebody that has a story to tell, right? You're scared that people will judge you. You're scared that if they know this particular thing about you, they will use that to judge you. I want you to be very, direct, and like you're talking to the person right now, on the steps and practical steps they need to take to be able to become what will help somebody tomorrow.
Okay, perfect. I love that question, especially because this is what I do when I teach my public speaking training. Is the number one fear we all have is that we are afraid of being judged. Okay, so this is what I tell my students. I tell them, the only way to overcome judgment is let go of your ego. Okay, you have to let go of your ego. And what do I mean by that? Let me explain. For example, when I have the children students, I tell them, if I come today and I start worrying that I have not shaven, okay, I have a bald head, or, earlier I was 11 kilos heavier 6 months ago. Now I've shrunk, but back then I used to say that I'm fat and, all of that. If I start focusing on myself, do you think I'll be able to teach you guys? If I start, I have dark eye bags, dark circles and all of that. The focus is me. No, I don't care. I can come in a pair of shorts and teach you. Why? Because my focus is not me. I'm letting go of my ego. My focus is you. I want to make sure my students learn something. And I share stories. Sometimes I share very deep stories. Deep stories which not normal human beings won't share. And the thing about judgment is, normally we think the audience judges us, but actually the audience wants us to succeed. They want to hear our stories. It's us who puts it in our mind that we're going to be judged. And like you mentioned, that story of that guy who was rich, who commits suicide. Now, come on, tell me, what was the reason for him to commit suicide, right? He had money. He was probably famous. Why did he commit suicide? Because he let that voice in his head, his ego, get there, right? Where somewhere he felt he was not enough, even though he had everything. He let that ego get in his way. And he didn't realize he had money. He could have benefited so many people. He could have opened a charity. He could have done something. But his ego took over, where the judgment of other people, the thoughts of other people, and his own negative thoughts took over. So when you let go of your ego, that is the only way you will step up and tell your stories, because it is not about you. It is about your audience. It's about your audience. You're not the focus point. Your audience, your students are the focus point. Your followers are your focus point. What is it in for them? So that's the one big advice I will give you is, come on, even the richest people, the most famous people get judged, right?
That's right.
There are some people who will always judge. They'll always focus on something that is wrong. But there are most of the people, they focus on what is good.
That's right.
Right? It's in our head how we look at it. My perspective is, and I'll tell you this phrase, it's by one of my favorite actors. You can love me, you can hate me, but you cannot ignore me.
Can I guess who said that? Oh, I can't remember right now, but I think I've seen it somewhere. You can love me.
You can love me, you can hate me, but you cannot ignore me. That's by my favorite actor, Shah Rukh Khan. He says it.
Oh, really? I think I've seen it somewhere.
Yeah, he said that once, and that really hit me hard, because I saw one of his interviews where, he was like, people judge you, people say this about you, that about you. And he's like, you can love me, hate me, but you can't ignore me. I am
That's
there,
right.
I am going to be there. And that's what I live by that,
And what again, we might even add that, what does it matter? People will talk about you and then probably move on to the next person, and then that's it.
Exactly. Like I said, people who are looking for negative, they're only going to look for negative. Like, I had a friend call me, he calls me many times, and he tells me about how this person said this person said that. And, he's a friend, but I reached a point where I started telling him, can we not discuss about this? Because it's somebody else's life. I have no interest in it. And it creates the wrong type of vibration when you're talking to me. Because end of the day, someone shared something with you. I know you're a nice guy, but you're sharing it with me. And it's so negative. If you can't handle that person's negative energy, then why talk to that person? You got to get rid of that toxicity, right? And whether it's your spouse, it's your parents, whatever it is, you got to get rid of the toxicity, right? Just get rid of it. You cannot discuss things that don't elevate your vibration, your spirit, And even when somebody sends me a news that there's a new disease found, I immediately message that person and say, can we not focus on that? Can we focus on the good things? I mean, look at COVID, okay? Every time when the COVID was brand new, I saw that everybody was focusing on how many people got the disease and how many died.
Yeah.
But I used to focus on how many got
the recovery.
cured. Yeah, exactly. I only look at the recovery, and the recovery rate is very good. So that's what I focus on.
Focus on the positives.
Yeah, you have to focus on the positive, right?
And that's also,
yeah, go ahead.
So we also have to drop this, because I know some people, it's very hard to take them out of that place of privacy. If somebody can come to you, can be vulnerable enough to come to you to share a particular thing with you, that means you are very important, or you mean something to them. So I always say this, and me, I say it without a doubt. I say, I'm someone that your secret is safe with me. Until you want me to share it, your secret is safe with me. I think we should also share and tell people about how discreet they should also be. Somebody thinks you're good enough, and the person comes, to tell you about something that they're going through, and this is just for the purpose of letting out, let me just let this off my chest, and For instance, I come to you, Yogesh, I want to tell you this, but this is very private to me. It is your duty as a human being, for goodness sakes, to be as discreet as possible. So another thing people are scared of, and why they don't want to be vulnerable, is the fact that when they tell Mr. A, Mr. B, Mr. C, Mr. D, Mr. E, F, G, H is going to hear it. And that's the problem they have. So I also want you to talk about, talk to people that are the recipients of these stories, that look, until the person gives you the permission to share, it is very important you respect their wishes. It is really important, because I think that's one of the reasons why people shy away from talking to people. And in my job, or what I do as a mental health advocate, I know that people are dying deeply because they don't trust. They don't trust people enough to be able to share their stories with them. So I want you to touch on that. I want you to address it critically, because this is, out of 10 stories or 10 people you meet, the reason they'll tell you why they would rather keep it to themselves is because they don't want to say to A and hear it from Mr. Z. So please do talk about that.
Yeah, that's a very, very important point you brought. It's a very difficult choice when you have to share your private story with someone and expecting that they don't share it with somebody else. And to build that trust factor is very difficult, because I've had that situation where I shared my story with someone, and from A it went to B to C to D. And then, you start suppressing yourself and not wanting to share those private stories with others. It's difficult to find the right people to share with, but at the same time, I want to say, if you hold it in you, that's even
It's
worse.
more it's
Yeah,
more
because it
dangerous.
creates mental health, it creates physical health
Health
issues, it
issues.
creates
Yeah.
many issues. I used to be a very suppressed person. I would never share my emotions, I would keep it to myself. And I think that led me to a lot of stress and becoming diabetic. I became
Wow.
diabetic 13 years ago because I would never share anything. And then came a point where I just became vulnerable and I started sharing with anyone. And even though the person shared it with a third person, at least you found out if that is your friend or not.
Mm,
See, that's
that's
the
true.
main thing you need to understand, is you realize, can I trust this person the next time? Learn from that lesson, right?
Yeah,
But don't just suppress yourself and not share it, because then you're going to get sick anyways. And
that's
if
true.
you have deep faith in God, then you share your story with God. Okay,
Mm,
whoever it is, it's Jesus, it's Allah, it's whatever. If you have deep faith in God, share your story with God, and that story, you can trust it onto them, right? But the more important thing is, don't suppress yourself.
very
And like I
important.
said, get rid of the ego. Even if your story gets shared, out of those 10 people, there might be one person in there who's your real friend, who might call you and say, what's going on with you? Do you need help? 9 out of 10 might not be your friends. 9 out of
That's
10
right.
might laugh at you and go away, but you don't even need those people anyways.
That's right.
You don't need those people. You come to know
Definitely.
they're your friends or not. I rather have that one friend out of 10 than have those 9 who talk behind my back. And I
So
love people who come and tell me on my face something, because I know those are the real people.
that's right. So it's okay to say that you should have accountability partners, like someone you can truly trust every time something is weighing you down. Like you said, it is not about you. Most of the time, it is not about you. Let go the ego, let go of the ego, and then try to open up to somebody that you can trust, and then
And I want to mention a point. So when you tell your story to someone, you need to also address it to them. I hope I can trust you. I hope I can
good.
trust you not to share it with anyone. You see,
That's
because
right.
sometimes what happens is,
They don't know.
sometimes somebody takes your story and they emotionally cannot handle your story, right?
Mm,
Like just now, you told me the story of the person who was emotional. I mean, the suicide, and you felt so emotional that you had to
Yeah.
share that story forward. You couldn't handle it, you see. So you have to tell somebody in advance that I'm going to share something with you. Can I trust you to keep it and not share it?
Hmm.
You see. So
This,
if you
this
address,
one I even shared this because it's public knowledge, because it's in the news, but this person brought it to my attention. It's in the news, it's all over, because being discreet and being very, very private when keeping things, like when people trust you to share stuff with you, is one thing that I always remind myself of. So I think it's also good for people to be trustworthy. If somebody comes to you to tell you that,
yes,
see, this is what
it's
I'm
very
going through
important.
right now, but I need you to keep it to yourself. So I don't want to hear it with any, I don't want to hear it from any other person. Please respect that particular wish. So before we round up, okay,
But
please go ahead.
before you, I just want to add to that. If you're the person who is listening to somebody else's story and you feel that person needs help, then you have to take that one step and
True.
find help for them or suggest help to them, because sometimes you know this person is suicidal, you know this person is sharing something with you, and you know that it is not beyond your limit to, like, you
Yeah.
cannot help them. They have mental issues or they're being abused by their family, and that has to come out.
That's true. Very, thank God you mentioned it. Like, if it's a life or death situation, life and death situation, you have to. This is it becomes, in fact, if you don't say anything and you let them harm themselves, you have become a part of, yes, so that's it. So if you see someone that's suicidal and the person is saying that, don't tell anybody, but I'm thinking in my head that I might just go and all of that, please, thank you so much for pointing that out. Please, in the name of whatever you hold dear, you need to help that person. You don't need their permission now. You need to help them. So this is very important. Thank you, Yogesh, for raising that out, for raising that point. Yeah, so I don't want us to have this very long. We can always have other things we'll talk about, right? So I want to keep it, for, let it be in the space of 1 hour, between just 1 hour. Yeah, so I want us to, cap it up, round it up with maybe a story if you have any, or to summarize it by telling people, everybody, including myself, why sometimes you should also even seek stories, look for certain, for a particular situation that you're going through. What are the stories? What people must have shared things, with regards to a particular situation that you're going through. What would you tell somebody to do when they don't even know where to go to hear stories that would help them? Did you get
Okay.
the question?
Yes,
Sometimes you need
I
help,
got.
but you don't know where to get it, right?
Yeah, I got the question, and it's a very good question because just yesterday or day before, I couldn't sleep. So I
Hmm.
just went on YouTube and I saw this one channel, and it was also another Toastmaster, and he has like a platform where so many people are coming and sharing their stories. I saw a story of a lady who started a small business because she
Hmm.
married a man who was like abusive and alcoholic, and he was into drugs, and she started from a small business and she built this empire where now she's handling a whole group of hotels of F&B, you know.
Wow.
And it's not just about the business story, but then she mentions that her daughter dies and how she kind of fell off in life, and how her son helped her get back on her feet, you know. And there's so many stories on his platform, which I couldn't see all, but I was seeing the ones that were interesting me, and I like observing. Even though I'm a storyteller, I'm a public speaker, I love observing other speakers and learning their stories and seeing how they share their stories so that I can make myself better. And even suppose there's a certain area I'm struggling with in my life, and I listen to that story, I'm like, oh, wow, look at the resilience this person had. How come I don't have that resilience, right? They struggled for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. So if you cannot go to someone personally, you know, Today we have the internet. There's so many stories out there. Go watch TEDx. Go watch the TED Talks. Find a channel, a motivational channel. Find a speaker you resonate with. Okay?
With.
Find a speaker you resonate with. Like when I started my journey, I used to listen to Anthony Robbins. I used to listen to Jim Rohn. I used to listen to Les Brown. I think I've listened to every great speaker on the planet, right? Because I wanted to be able to speak on a platform one day, and I listened to them, and I was also going through a low phase in my life because I was lost, and when I was listening to them, it kept me going, you know? I mean, even till today, when I go for a morning walk, I was listening to the audio book by Robin Sharma. It's a 4-hour audio book, and he's given it for free. So I was listening to him, and I'm learning the lessons. He has like 100 and plus chapters in there, and there are lessons to be learned. So obviously you cannot apply all of them, but I picked out one or two that at that moment I needed to listen to that. So when you cannot approach people, just we have the medium of the internet. Go onto TEDx, go onto YouTube, search it, find it. You know, find people who've overcome challenges that you're facing and listen to their stories. That would be the greatest help that you have. I mean, like you and me now, we're doing this Instagram live again, right? Someone's going to watch it, they're going to listen to our stories, and they're going to be like, yes, okay, resonated with this person, right? So those are other channels. And if you even are not into these things, I think the best way is, go to a holy place. Like when I feel lost, I go to the temple, or you can go to church, you can go to the masjid, whatever religion you're part. Just go, and the vibration there might help you, feel at peace. So there are many methods. But these are just two that I wanted to share with the audience.
All right. So the audience now, do you have any question? Maybe somebody, just one or two questions we can just, pick before. I want us to finish at 12 exactly. So if you have any question, you can just please, by your time, it will be by 6. So, by 6 o'clock, that's when I want us to finish. It's 6 in your country. Well,
yeah, I have a class in Poland in like 4 minutes.
Oh, better. So, I mean, we need to let you go so that we don't keep you. So thank you so much for doing this. And, but together we'll keep talking. If there's any need for you to come back here, I hope you'd come.
Oh, definitely. And now that we are part of Coach Talk Cafe, the platform that's being releasing in 2021, I'm sure there'll be more opportunities to engage and invite our viewers to attend our Friday sessions and learn from all the great coaches out there. And if there are any questions that you get on this Instagram, you can always send them to me, and I will address them to the audience, and and then you can forward it to them.
That's fine. Thank you. I appreciate it, and we'll keep talking. So
yes,
yeah. So they're appreciating you. They're telling you thank you. So thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for inviting me, Grace. I love what you're doing. I love the messages you're sending across. You're doing a great job, and I loved that you were vulnerable, you were crying. That's what storytelling is about, is being yourself, is being vulnerable, is being authentic, and keep doing the good work. And I'm sure one day, you're going to impact at least 1 million people. And I wish you all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you. All right. So bye.
Bye. Take care.
All right. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Thank you. Super proud. Love you all. Thank you to Happy Coffee. Happy Coffee is, made this happen. Thank you to Happy Coffee for making this happen. Happy Coffee and Unique Fabrics. Thank you. They supported us, So God bless you. Thank you so much for joining. And please do share your stories. If you have stories, please share so that some people can learn and become better. I love you. Bye.